Hi guys, so today we are going to use these beautiful painted papers that you guys made together. You made so much cool texture with your brush strokes and also with scratching with your paintbrush. And now we're going to use these to make a collaborative work of art all about a garden. So when you collaborate with someone, that means you work together with them. So we're going to be working together to make this big work of art for our hallways. You are going to be making two different kinds of flowers today. The first kind is using my flower stencils. So let's talk about that one first. You're going to choose a flower stencil, and then you also need a big circle and a little circle. You're gonna need some painted paper, some oil pastels, and some colored plain paper. So the first thing you're gonna do is decide what color you want your flower to be. So for this flower, I think I'm gonna do this purple paper. Then you're gonna flip your paper to the back, and you are going to trace a stencil onto the back. And that way we won't see our pencil lines on the texture. And then you cut out on your pencil lines. So when you flip it over, now you can see all that really cool texture with no pencil lines. So now I'm going to make a couple different layers for the middle of my flower. So I'm going to choose a yellow square for the big circle. And then I cut around that circle. I'm going to choose a different color for the middle. So I think for that one, I want to try this really cool orange. So on these painted papers, we flip it to the back and trace our circle on the plain side. Okay, so now I'm going to stack all of my pieces together so that it looks like a really cool flower. So now we're going to use our glue sponge at your table to glue our pieces together. So remember, your glue sponge has glue on it. So all you need to do is press your paper onto the sponge and it gets glue on the back. So you have to make sure that you move your paper, pick it up, move it over until the whole back of your circle is covered. And then you can put it on your flower. You're going to use your oil pastels to decorate your flower with different lines and dots if you want. I think for this middle flower, I want to draw some little short lines. You can decorate these however you want. And then maybe in the center, I want it to look like it has little seeds. So I'm going to use some little dash lines. And then maybe on my petals, maybe I could draw some outlines to make it look like my petals have more detail. So I think that looks pretty good for my first flower. So when you are finished decorating, then you can start on your second flower. So the second type of flower, we're gonna start with the circle first. And you can pick either plain paper for this or some painted paper. It's up to you. So I have my big circle this time. We are not going to use the small circle for this one. Remember, on painted paper, you have to flip it to the back and then trace on the plain side. Okay, so there's the middle of my flower. Now, instead of tracing a stencil, we're gonna make our petals using strips of paper. So you're gonna pick another color of painted paper and you're gonna start on the side and start cutting some strips that are about 2 fingers long or you could do 3 fingers long. So I could measure 2 fingers and cut all the way up. And your strips do not have to be perfectly straight. So we don't need a ruler or anything for this. So now we're gonna turn these into flower petals. So all of these papers, I'm gonna cut them in half. So now I'm gonna flip my painted circle to the back, and we're going to also flip our painted petals to the back as well. And we are gonna start gluing these around the edge. So since we only need to glue on the edge, we're only going to stamp our paper on just a little bit of the glue sponge. So see, I only have glue on the bottom part where it's gonna touch my circle. So I'm gonna put it right there. You wanna make sure that you are matching plain paper with plain paper. So then when you flip it around, your paper is painted on this one and on this one. So you don't accidentally wanna glue it like this, because then when you flip it over, you'll have plain paper and painted paper. So you wanna make sure they match. And I'm also overlapping my strips so they are touching each other. So I don't wanna glue them like this, because then I'll have a huge space. So if you accidentally do this, you could just get another strip and glue it in between. Okay, so when you have your papers overlapping, so you can't see the edge of your circle anymore, you're gonna press down everything one more time. And then when you flip it over, it looks like a flower. So now we get to decorate this one with our oil pastels. So this time, I think I'm gonna draw some circles around the middle. And you can also decorate your petals on these if you want. Alrighty, so there are our 2 types of flowers that we're gonna make today. And then once everybody else is finished, we are going to add these to our big mural together so we can start building our big garden together. So when you're finished today, we need to do something special with our painted papers because we cut them, but some of this paper is still good. So if you have a paper like this, where there's a big flappy piece, you're gonna cut that off. And here's another flappy one, so I'm gonna cut that one. And then we can stack these together so that someone else can use them. If you have pieces like this, you can just put those back because someone else could use those too. And then these, we're just gonna cut off this one little flappy piece. So like that, and then put the big piece back, and then that, and put the big piece back. So now I'm gonna return these to the painted paper bins. And then we can turn our flowers in on the drying rack.